Good morning, sweet world, and welcome to the No Dunks NBA Finals preview podcast on the Athletic Network. It's Tuesday, September 29th. I'm J.E. Skeets, and joining us live, as always, Tass Mellis.
NBA Finals, but also Blue Jays playoffs. Here we go, Blue Jays. Ain't that right, Trey?
Oh, Jays. Hum now, Jays. We got the bearded one, Trey Kirby.
Hum now.
Nice hat, TK. Love it. Jays versus Rays. Juicy. And we got the international man of mystery taking it to the max, Lee Ellis.
Friends.
Lily. And last but not least, making the magic happen, JD.
Hello.
There he is. Here we are. Shout out to everyone joining us live right now on YouTube. Thanks to everyone who already hit up nodunks.com to buy our new Turn Up, Love You Guys, Awesome t-shirt and or a classic No Dunks pin. Thank you so much. Go to nodunks.com to grab those. There's lots of other shirts you can grab as well. Keep your questions and your comments coming for tomorrow's Beach Steppin' podcast. Yes, we're hitting the beach on Wednesday. Email them in nodunks@theathletic.com, your questions. Fire up the Twitter machine if you want, at NoDunksInc. And I'll let you guys know right now, all you listeners and everybody joining us live on YouTube, we're going to wait until tomorrow's podcast to discuss Doc Rivers and the Clippers parting ways and these Victor Oladipo rumors and all of that good stuff. We'll get to that on tomorrow's Beach Steppin' podcast because today, it took a few extra months to make it happen, but the NBA Finals are basically here. Game 1 between the Lakers and the Heat tips this Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern on ABC. This marks the first finals matchup between two teams who missed the playoffs the previous season. A little interesting there. Both squads an identical 12-3 in the playoffs, playing fantastic ball. Lakers beat the Blazers 4-1, the Rockets 4-1, the Nuggets 4-1, and the Heat, things got a little more difficult as they went on. They swept the Pacers, took 5 to beat the Bucks, and then took 6 to beat the Celtics. So we got a lot of questions here for this podcast. We'll make our predictions near the end. But Tass, the first question, I just want to know, sort of big picture, stepping back, what's the juiciest final storyline heading into this Lakers-Heat matchup?
Well, I'll get us started with the overarching storyline. I don't think it's the juiciest, but the overarching storyline is the team versus the stars. The best team in the bubble versus the team with the best player in the series. You could definitely argue that the Lakers have the two best players in the series, which doesn't happen very often. And if the Heat win, we'll be comparing them to the 2004 Pistons that overcame Shaq and Kobe. Or if they play really, 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 really well, we'll compare them to the 2014 Spurs that were moving the ball and played the most beautiful basketball in people's memory that overcame a LeBron and Wade team.
Right.
But the Lakers have the superstars. I think you can argue that the next best 7 players in the series are all on the Heat's roster. I know that sounds a little nuts, but they're starting 5 plus Iguodala and Tyler Hero. You could argue are better than any KCP, Rondo, Kuzma, Dwight, whatever you want to throw out there. And that's a dumb argument to make, but that's just the way it is. That's the way we do things around here. And I think that the team versus superstars is it's the way people are going to pick the team that they root for as well. Fans that love the team ball are going to pick the Heat, or if you're a superstar type of fan, you're going to pick the Lakers. So I think it colors the series a few ways, and that's how I want to paint it as well, because you're on one side or the other. I'm just trying to get people riled up. Get into this thing. Let's get going. I know it's a 9 o'clock Eastern for us Eastern time zoners, but we got to do it. We got to get into it, and I just want the fans to follow suit. So that's the way I feel about it. It's probably something that's going to go away in the middle of the series, but I think when we look back, it's going to be, especially if the Heat win, it's going to be team versus superstars.
I feel like you were at the forefront, Tass, of comparing this Heat run, what they're doing here in the bubble playoffs, to those Pistons 04. Because now I'm hearing it every single podcast I listen to, every article I read. I don't know. You were at the forefront, my man. You set the tone with that one. This idea that, they just have a bunch of great guys, but no one elite superstar, which you sort of need to have usually to win a championship. And You're hearing those comparisons a lot there, Trey. And I think they are somewhat fair again if he can pull this off.
Yeah, it is the natural comparison to make, especially given the fact that it is the Lakers, right?
Yeah.
It's not Shaq and Kobe. We got LeBron and AD now. In general, I'm a superstars guy. I can, it's hard to remember all the different times we've looked at a LeBron team and said, look at this. They've got the 2 or 3 best guys, but the next 7 are on the other team. That happened with the Raptors before they got Kawhi Leonard. It happened with the Bulls. It happened with the Pacers. There have been a lot of best 3rd through 8 players who have gone up against LeBron and fallen short, but none of them had to do it in a bubble. So we'll see how that plays out. It is interesting, though, because there are 2 All-Stars still on the Miami Heat, right? They had 2 All-Stars this year. They've also got Goran Dragic, who was an All-Star not too long ago, Andre Iguodala, who made an All-Star team, played on the Olympics, all these U.S. national teams, obviously a champion as well. So it feels like the Lakers have so much more star power, but there's still some really good guys there in Miami.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Like, what's the bigger gap? Is the bigger gap between the Lakers superstars to then the Heat, superstars, the stars in Jimmy and Bam, let's call them? Or is the bigger gap then between the role players, like you guys are saying, like 3 through 8, the Heat's depth to the Lakers' depth? Like, what's closer there? I don't know. We could argue about that if you wanted to. But Lee, what do you think of this superstars versus team battle here?
Yeah, I mean, that's the way with basketball, that because there's only 5 players out on the court at any one time, if you have the best player on your team, it tends to favor you. But, again, these circumstances are not normal and they're not usual. So it is a little bit different. And also, you're looking at a team like the Miami Heat, who historically are always just well prepared and they can handle going up against like a superstar like this. And LeBron, as brilliant as he is, and he's still, maybe the best player in the game, he's not quite as sort of dominating and as overwhelming as he was in his prime years. Now, he's still very, very good. I don't want to get anyone upset with me thinking he's not the best player still, but he doesn't carry quite that same power. And then Anthony Davis, he's never been to this stage before. He's never been in this position before. And you could argue, of course, all those players on the Miami Heat haven't either, except for Andre Iguodala, who's 35, 36 years old. So, I think the gap isn't huge. I think the gap is a little bit closer, in terms of like Anthony Davis and LeBron are the 2 best players in the series. But then after that, it's very, very even. And then a little bit of experience. The coaching comes into it, the defense, the depth. All those things play a factor, especially when there is no home court advantage. So I think overall, on paper, yes, you look at the Lakers and they have 1 and 2. But after that, then it's like, well, is that going to be enough against a team that we have seen so far defy expectations and come out and gotten themselves into an incredible position with the Miami Heat? So that's more than just their players. It's how they coach, it's how they prepare, and they just have that sort of that belief in themselves as well right now. So this is a fascinating matchup, and I'm so excited for it.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so Task getting us started there. Yeah, the stars versus the team angle. What do you have, Trey? Juiciest final storyline for you?
Well, if you're a Jimmy Butler boy like I am, it's probably because of the way he has played LeBron James in the past. In fact, showing up against LeBron in the playoffs kind of put Jimmy Butler on the map. Let's go back to 2013, Bulls Heat in the second round. We're talking no Rose for the Bulls. Luol Deng went out. He had a mishap with a spinal tap. That happened in the playoffs. The guy had a mishap with a spinal tap, so Jimmy Butler went out and played 48 minutes against LeBron, guarded him the entire time. And a big Game 1 win. Here's a headline from SB Nation. Jimmy Butler turns into the Bulls' Iron Man. The Chicago Bulls are asking Jimmy Butler to do everything all game, and somehow he's doing it. Butler guarded LeBron James, led all players in rebounds, scored well, and didn't sit for even a minute in the Bulls' shocking Game 1 victory over Miami. This was 7 years ago. I can't believe this was 7 years ago, but they've been going up against each other for a long, long time. This will be the 3rd time they've met in the playoffs. It was Chicago-Miami 2013 round 2. That was a 4-1 Heat victory after the Bulls took Game 1. What a shocker. Then we had it again, Chicago versus Cleveland 2015 round 2. Bulls Game 1 victory, and the Cavs won that one 4-2. They've run into each other so many times. I didn't realize it. I threw Jimmy Butler and LeBron into YouTube last night and just went through every single clip. The game winner that LeBron hits in 2015 against the Bulls, it's over Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler was there when the Bulls broke the Heat's 27-game winning streak. Yep. Do you remember the game winner where LeBron was celebrating, but he would not celebrate with Isaiah Thomas? Remember that turning point for the Cavs? That was over Jimmy Butler. I had no idea. And they were both going crazy in that game too. nobody can stop LeBron, but Jimmy is a great LeBron foil. He's kind of always understood that you need to crowd his space, use your quick hands. He's strong enough to take some bumps. Nobody's going to stop LeBron. Jimmy's not going to even be stuck on LeBron the entire time. We know the Heat play a lot of zone, and they've got a lot of different options. Jay Crowder has history with LeBron, both as an opponent and a teammate. Andre Iguodala as well, obviously, playing there in Golden State. But Jimmy versus LeBron on the biggest stage. It's going to be fun to see if Jimmy can elevate himself to true superstar status. Because, I mean, LeBron is the superstar. Like Jimmy said after the Heat clinched their berth in the finals, seems like you always got to beat a LeBron team to win here. And we'll see if Jimmy can actually finally pull it off.
Yeah, I saw a tweet going around the other night, too. John Ireland, I think, had it. LeBron and Jimmy have played head-to-head 34 times. And they're in a dead heat at 17-17 record. Yeah,
that's a
bit
win for Jimmy
misleading,
Butler.
though. A bit misleading.
Yeah, it is.
14-9 in the regular season for Jimmy. 8-3 in the playoffs for LeBron. And that's kind of what it's always been. Like Tass is saying, Jimmy's usually been on the better team. But on the other hand, LeBron is on LeBron's team. So that's an advantage.
That's a big advantage. Okay, so Jimmy versus Bron. Yeah, that should be exciting. What do you got, Lee?
There's a lot of overlapping stories and history between these two franchises. Let's start. Pat Riley, a Lakers legend, won 4 championships there, went to the Knicks, and then now down in Miami, where he won 2 championships with LeBron James. And a couple of times they had to beat Frank Vogel's Pacers to get to the finals. And now Frank Vogel is coaching LeBron against Eric Spoelstra. Eric Spoelstra won a couple of championships there. And, of course, Pat Riley is known as the Godfather, and he brought LeBron James to Miami. He brought Chris Bosh there, and it was all great. They went to 4 straight finals and won 2 championships. But then when LeBron left, there was a little bit of hurt feelings there from Pat Riley.
That's right.
Pat Riley sort of said, I don't want all those smiling faces and hidden agendas, because I think he thought LeBron was going to re-sign, but in Vegas, LeBron basically said, I'm out of here. I'm going back to Cleveland. And I don't think Pat Riley saw that coming, and I don't think he appreciated it. So, even though they're all playing friendly, Magic Johnson sending out a tweet saying, Pat Riley, my great friend. Yeah, when the ball tips, that those friendships are going to be put on hold a bit here. So I just think it is fascinating that these two franchises, they've won a lot of championships. Well, obviously the Lakers have won more than the Heat here, but the Heat have sort of stolen what the Lakers were in the 80s, being that dominant team that were, they had that culture. And now I think you see that in the Miami Heat. So, whoever wins this series, and Pat Riley's already had a victory over his old sparring partner, Danny Ainge, in the Boston Celtics. So Pat Riley, don't think that he's just forgotten about all the history in the past there. He wants to win against the Lakers. That would be fantastic for him. So I think there's going to be quite a bit of drama, quite a bit of tension. I want crazy. I don't want feel good. Give me crazy. That's what we want in the playoffs. That's what we want in the finals.
I saw that. I think it was the OCR wrote, Lee, speaking of what you're talking about with Riley. There's not many basketball executives who can command more attention from the box than the players on the floor, but Pat Riley might be one of them. There is some truth to that. I'll just double down on what you're saying, Lee, for my juicy storylines, because it is this idea of revenge. So Pat Riley versus Bron, LeBron versus the Heat is obviously really exciting. And LeBron's looking to win his 4th title here with his 3rd different franchise, again, against one of the 2 franchises that he already led to 2 titles. We got Iguodala versus Bron. Trey brought it up. Iggy winning 3 titles with the Warriors, got the 15 finals MVP for slowing down, LeBron James, but then LeBron gets revenge on him with the block and all that. We got Jimmy Butler versus the Doubters, obviously specifically not Trey Kirby, but in Chicago and Minnesota and Philadelphia. And then we've got even Rondo and Dwight looking for some revenge versus the haters like Lee Ellis, especially with Rondo, who said these guys are washed. They're a negative to your team. And then they've really impressed a lot of people down here in the bubble and throughout the playoffs. So, yeah, I love all this revenge angles to this. And you're right, Lee, there's a lot of intertwining and overlapping, and that makes it exciting, Tass. I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
Well, yeah, Rondo versus the haters is interesting because I think if he has a Hall of Fame case in the end, part of it will be, I won a title on the Celtics and the Lakers, the only person in NBA history to ever do that, which is crazy. You'd think that there's somebody on the bottom of a roster that squeezed one out on both, but the Celtics haven't, they won in 2008, but then they hadn't won a long time before that. And back in the day, you weren't playing for the Celtics and the Lakers. That just didn't happen.
Just Rick Fox.
Yeah, Ricky Fox. The man, cuckoo, cuckoo.
Just Ulrich. Couldn't pull it off. Couldn't pull it off.
Shaq nearly did it, didn't he?
Did they get close? I don't know.
I can't.
Conference finals, right?
Yeah.
Against the Magic in 09. But yeah, that's it. Definitely a Rondo Howard versus all the people who hate them. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, again, Lee Ellis specifically. Right?
Do you consider the doubters and the haters to be different groups of people?
I'll be honest, Trey. I just wanted to say something different.
Okay.
Classic move in podcasting. Just change the word. I'll send it
A little variety.
I think they're different. I think they're different for sure. You can hate someone and you just hate them no matter what. And then you can also doubt someone. And you're like,
because there's people that doubt that Jimmy Butler can lead a team to an NBA championship. And he's definitely shut up a lot of people, especially with his whole like, hey, come on, let's just work hard and all that. And then, everybody else like, I don't want to work that hard. He's like, well, screw you then. But yeah, there's a slight difference. I'm with you, Lee.
Yeah, there is. I mean, a doubter as well could be like, I doubt Andre Iguodala can shut down LeBron James.
Yep.
You don't hate him.
Yeah, sure.
You don't hate him. Good point. You're just saying like, that storyline is kind of being a little bit overblown here because, as we know, he didn't shut LeBron down at all. It was LeBron had no help on those rosters at all when Iguodala won it.
Iguodala hit a ton of threes too. I mean, it's overlooked because it's an easier storyline to say, oh, he beat LeBron and he slowed him down. But he also contributed offensively.
For sure.
I mean, some of us still think Curry should have got the Finals MVP, but that's a conversation for another podcast, I get. We got a lot still to go here. Let's just get to the next question. Start really getting into the nitty gritty here. What's the key to this series, Tass? Why don't you get us started?
I think it's Bam Adebayo's defense in general. He's going to be matched up with Anthony Davis, and can he slow the leading scorer for the Los Angeles Lakers down? That's his number one objective. But this guy's got a lot on his plate. He's going to have a huge effect not only on Anthony Davis, but on the other superstar, on LeBron James. So a huge effect on the two superstars. So it's up to him. We know the Heat are going to throw Jay Crowder, Jimmy Butler, even Derek Jones Jr. and Andre Iguodala on LeBron. But I think the most important player in stopping LeBron is a big man who can really make him think at the rim, because you can't stop LeBron in the mid-range or at the nail or even at the three-point line. He's going to pick you apart with his passes, or he's going to find a way to score. So I think Bam Adebayo at the rim is really, really, really important to slow LeBron down, just make him think a little bit. So we're going to see a lot of zone where Bam doesn't have to go out on the perimeter. He'll just be at the rim because, again, that's the only place you can stop LeBron. When he won his last title in 2016 against Draymond Green and the Warriors, it was when Draymond Green went down and the series changed. I think Bam's got to set it from the get-go. He's got to be in LeBron's head. They got to get game one to me. I think that's the most important thing. And I think Bam, because he's got so much on his plate, slowing down the two superstars for the Lakers, I think you got to not rely on him as offensively or as much on the offensive end because his task is so large on the defensive end. It's going to be up to the Heat guards, I think, to score on the other side. So Bam, man, young guy going up against the player of this generation in LeBron and Anthony Davis. It's a lot on his shoulders for sure, but I think that is really the key when it comes down to it, being able to slow them down just a touch.
Okay, a dominating Bam performance, pretty key for a task there for the Heat's chance to win this. Trey, what do you got?
Pretty much the exact same thing. For me, it is controlling the paint, though not really, because we just got to look at what the NBA Finals court is going to be like, and the only paint on it is out of bounds. So controlling the lane, we will say, because Bam is going to have his work cut out for him. It'll be hard enough stopping LeBron James, as we saw in the closeout game against Denver, when he decides, I'm going to shoot a layup every single time. There's not a lot that people can do to stop it, and that's without accounting for the fact that Anthony Davis is the biggest mismatch in the NBA right now. How do you guard that guy? How do you keep him off the rim? John Schuman's in the chat. He has some incredible numbers over on NBA.com talking about the Lakers being the best second chance rebounding team and the best transition team. That means you got to get back and you got to get boards. You got to be able to shut it down inside. It's a lot easier said than done. The Lakers have a lot of huge guys. They've got a lot of small guys who still play very, very big. And it's going to be very tough for the Heat to limit LeBron inside while also limiting Anthony Davis inside, while also somehow trying to figure out how to score on the other side on offense, because both of these teams shoot a lot of threes, but they're also dedicated to the interior. And you see it really in the fourth quarter when it comes down to it. And the Heat are saying, Jimmy, get in the lane. Goran, get in the lane. Bam, maybe bring the ball up and get in the lane. Yeah. They understand that a layup and a dunk is still the best shot in basketball. who controls that unpainted area is going to win this series.
Trey, let me ask you this. Do you think Vogel in game one, does Dwight get the start? Does JaVale get the start? Do they not go two bigs and go with, AD and then, of course, a smaller LeBron or Kuz or whoever, or Morris even for your four? Like, what do you think the strategy is right from the jump for Vogel and the Lakers? Do they lean into AD at the 5 or continue to play big ball?
They'll probably start big ball, I would imagine. Dwight played pretty well this last series, certainly had an impact drawing fouls on Nikola Jokic. That's going to be another huge area for Bam to work on, is staying out of foul trouble, because they need him to play as many minutes as he possibly can in this series. If he's having to sit on the bench because of picking up a couple of early ones, that would be trouble for the Heat. But I think that the Lakers will start with their double bigs. They've been really good offensively with double bigs, and that's their standard alignment. So they'll at least start the series with that. The wild card is always whenever they go with Davis at the 5, because the guy's just an impossible matchup right now. Like, Bam is the guy you would say, oh yeah, he's cut out to guard Anthony Davis. He's got the size, he's got the strength, he's got the quickness, he's got everything you would think you need. But Anthony Davis, when we see him standing next to Bam, we're going to see how huge Anthony Davis really is. I think we're still thinking of Anthony Davis when he was drafted as a skinny guy. That he's just like a mammoth, humongous center who's one of the fastest guys out there right now. It's crazy to see that, his biggest playoff moment so far is hitting a 3-pointer when really he could be dunking every single time. Yeah,
it's a great point. I know. I think it was Hollinger too, writing for The Athletic. The idea when the bigs are out there, AD, heck, Dwight, even JaVale to some degree, the threat of a lob, Lee, is there against a zone defense. I mean, especially when you have great passers like LeBron and Rondo, you can get sort of behind the defense a little bit when they're like collapsing into the middle, and there's a lob threat there. There's an alley-oop threat there with some of those guys, because you can literally just chuck it up there and have them go get it.
And really, as well, for the Heat, who else have they got that they can play minutes that they trust? I mean, Derek Jones Jr.
It's time to shotgun a beer and bring back Myers Leonard, baby.
But literally, that's what it is for Spoelstra. It's like, I need to buy, because he can't play 48 minutes of Bam every night, because he may get in foul trouble, and just he's going to be exhausted if he has to do it at both ends of the floor, because he's so important to what they do on the offensive end. So, Kelly Olynyk, someone like that is going to have to sort of somehow mop up a few minutes here for the Heat, but that is going to be danger time, because they've got JaVale, they've got Dwight, and they've got Anthony Davis. All those three guys, they can just lob the ball inside to, they can all catch it and finish it and dunk. So that is a real question mark here for the Heat, how they defend that, and that's it's going to be tough, because we know that Bam is so good. But for the Heat in this series, Kelly Olynyk, when he came out, he's a big for them. He's certainly not a traditional big, but he was awful, and he's probably their most experienced guy. So that's just a question.
He was, and he has been, but he also can catch fire and can give you something offensively if a big on the Lakers is matched up against him, and he can pull him out and hit some threes. He's going to have airspace.
Yeah, I mean, he can. You're right, he can, but we haven't seen anything near that now, and he needs to do it at least in 1 or 2 games. But we'll see. We'll see how the Heat try to compensate when Bam is off the floor, because that's a huge hole for them.
Yeah, keeping them off the glass when the Heat are in the zone is going to be it's going to be easier said than done, because I remember from high school days, Coach Nye always saying when a team was playing the zone against you, hey, you can rebound, and you can in theory, because it's not man-to-man. It's not as easy to get, a box out on a guy. It's just like you're taking up a space, but you got to really work as a gang to rebound that and find somebody and block them out and stuff like that, especially with the bigs on the Lakers.
Didn't you have 7'4" Rick Smits on your team?
No, you're thinking Daryl Smits. Now, see, here's the thing. Daryl Smits, by far the biggest guy on our team. Definitely the slowest, and didn't have a nose for the ball. Let's just say that. Let's just be honest. Daryl Smith was forced to play basketball in high school. He hated it. He didn't want to play, but he was a Giant. So they're like, you got to play basketball.
You got to play, man. Yeah.
So that's something to watch. Okay, I'll get to my sort of key here to this series. We talked about like great passing, and you can find that little lob, the alley-oops against the zone. But another big part to beating a zone, Miami's great zone, is you got to hit the three, because you're going to get looks. Now, you need to penetrate and then kick out if possible, and not just swing it around, which we saw the Celtics do at times. But I mentioned this on a previous podcast. The Lakers are undefeated in the playoffs when they shoot higher than 30% from three. Haven't lost a game when they hit that mark. So we're talking Danny Green, KCP, Kuzma. I can't believe I'm saying it. Even Rondo Lee, who's, doesn't take a ton, but has been knocking them down with pretty good consistency. So they're going to be there, especially the corners. That's a look that you're going to get against the zone defense, and they're going to have to hit some. They just, as simply as that. I don't care if you got LeBron and AD. Some of these guys got to contribute, and you got to have one or two of them, like the Heat do, where we talk about like, hey, is Hero going to have the game from distance, or is it Dragic, or is it Duncan Robinson? Same thing with the Lakers. They're just not as big of names, but those guys, and they've proven it before, especially in Danny Green and finals, got to knock them down. So that's what I'm watching. Keep it as simple as that. And we saw, by the way, if you go back to the regular season, remember 2019, guys? These teams did play. The Lakers scored 39 points on 35 possessions against Miami's zone in the regular season. So again, Lakers can offer a different look. There were different pieces even at the time. There's no Iguodala, no Crowder and stuff like that. But just so you know, they've seen it. And, man, I think the best guy you'd want on your team to beat a zone is LeBron James. He's probably the smartest player of all time. Rondo might be second for crying out loud. So that's good. That's a good thing for the Lakers.
I mean, Anthony Davis honestly might be third as well. He's a pretty good passer from
100%.
Pretty good passer and a decent 15-footer, and that's if he's playing at the nail. If he's the guy in the dunker spot, you mentioned it earlier, it's going to be an alley-oop fest.
It could be. It could be. Okay.
What's Tyler Hero doing when you throw an alley-oop to Anthony?
Yeah, I mean, he's in probably one of the corners, and he's good luck getting back to get a body on that alley-oop. I agree with that. What do you have, Lee, here for a key?
Yeah, well, I'm similar to you. I'm actually going with the Heat, but I'm going specifically with their 3-point accuracy, because in wins in the bubble, they're shooting 38% from downtown, and in losses, it's down to 28%. And also in losses, they're just firing away a lot more. Now, they're actually hitting about a similar amount, 14 in wins and 12 in losses, but it's that accuracy which is really, really important here for Miami. And that's just where they can at least stretch the Lakers out. They've got guys who can shoot it in Hero, Robinson, Dragic. I mean, Crowder, if he can find his spot again, and you saw what Iguodala did in Game 6 against the Celtics. So there's so many guys who are capable of knocking them down. I think this is just so important for Miami that they have to be able to get those guys going early and just hitting them a lot, because this is the way that the Heat play. You know, Bam, we know he's great, but he's going to be facing just a brick wall every time he goes into the paint here. He's not going to have it like he did against the Celtics, where he's going up against Tice and Cantor and Williams or whoever it was. Now he's going to have Dwight or JaVale or Anthony Davis almost every single time he touches the ball. So you know he's a good passer. He's going to look for his shooters. They have to knock them down, and that's when the Heat are at their best, when it's like the other team is kind of scrambling, because if that ball moves around and it goes from Hero or to Duncan Robinson or whoever it is, and they're open, I feel good that those guys can knock those shots down. And they've both shown as well they're capable of hitting 5 or 6 or 7 in a game. Oh, yeah. So, you know, that is something that's very, very important for Heat. They need to have those guys hitting threes. Dragic has hit some big ones. Crowder, as I mentioned, didn't have a great series against the Celtics. Prior to that, he was very, very good. So that is a huge, huge factor here for Miami. Those threes are dropping. They're a chance. If they're not, it's really, really hard to see how they're going to get points flowing. You know, I mean, Jimmy Butler, we know he can be a good scorer, but again, you're going up against just a completely different defensive look. So I think that's key that Miami can hit some threes.
It's almost cheating picking 3-point shooting as a key to a series in 2020, because it's so obvious, right? It's like, yeah, you're going to have looks. They're going to give them to you, and you have to hit them at a decent clip. I did the same thing as you, Lee.
I think I actually picked this for my key to the series for the Heat so far every single time.
Okay, well, it's proven to be true.
It has, though. It has. Right. And again, you know, from one night to the next, you're going to see, you know, you've seen Duncan Robinson hit 6 or 7 threes, and then while Tyler Hero maybe only has 1 or none. Yeah. You know, so they've got different guys who can do it. You're not relying on the same guy, but someone has to do it every game.
Yeah, for sure. Anything to add to that task? Either the bigs, what the Vogel and them do, the shooting stuff like that? No? All right. Well, we got lots more. We got lots more. Here we're going to talk X factors for both teams. We're going to make our finals predictions, but first, a quick break from our sponsor.
There is a maximum of 7 games left in the NBA season, so you may want to find a new sport to watch. Football, perhaps? I heard it's good. A lot of things happening in the NFL. Josh Allen is the new player that everybody wants a piece of. Yeah, he's really turned it around. What a remarkable switch up by Josh Allen. The season is just getting started. You'll have months of entertainment. And what better place to scratch that sports itch than with DraftKings? All right, this is supposed to be a basketball ad, basketball show, basketball angle. Shouldn't be writing my own copy. But I love the pigskin. Okay, let's get to the basketball. Only 2 teams remain. That's right. Now we'll find out which will be crowned basketball's champion. And there is no better place to get in on all of the action with DraftKings, the leader in one-day fantasy sports. To celebrate basketball's championship, DraftKings will have millions of dollars in total prizes up for grabs all week long for all of those 7 games. Yeah, we're going long, baby. So get in on all of the action now. If you haven't tried it yet, Fantasy basketball, it's easy for all you smart people out there. Pick 6 players, stay under the cap, and pile up points for threes, boards, assists, and more. There's no better way to put your basketball knowledge and luck to the test than to compete for a shot at millions of dollars. With millions of bucks up for grabs this week, no better place to have pigskin in the game than with DraftKings. Download the DraftKings app now and use promo code RUN to get a free shot at millions of dollars up for grabs this week with your first deposit. That's promo code RUN. Should be passed. Teams are passing now in the NFL. Josh Allen going deep. That's promo code RUN to get a free shot at millions of dollars with your first deposit only at DraftKings. Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
Yeah, I saw the Twitter machine going crazy last night for Patrick Mahomes. What was he up to last night there, TK? Doing something special out there on the gridiron?
Always, man. Always. The Bears are 3-0 right now, but they drafted Sam Bowie. They took Mitch Trubisky at number 2. They traded up for him. They could have had Patrick Mahomes, the greatest football player of his generation.
Wow.
But like I said, Bears 3-0, Bills 3-0. See you in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh!
Da Bills, da
fights.
Bears. Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes, don't call me Pat. His mother tweeted saying, tell this announcer to stop calling my son Pat Mahomes. It's Patrick. Unless that was a fake mom. I'm pretty sure it was his real mom.
I did see it. I only saw one clip on Twitter. He did he literally did a fake jump throw is the best way to call it. Wow. You don't see that often. He jumped Lee like he was going to throw it and obviously did a pump fake. Now you see of course, a pump fake all the time or what do you call it? Pump fake? That's not right in football, is it? Yeah. Same thing.
I don't know. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. And but he did it while jumping. It was insane. The guy's so damn athletic.
He also threw a 60-yard bomb while fading away, running backwards.
Oh,
right
wow.
on the money. Oh, Patrick Mahomes. Calling him Pat no matter what, though. Patty.
Okay. Let's get to some X factors. Let's start with the Heat. Potential Miami Heat X factor in this NBA Finals matchup. Task, get us started. Who you got?
Well, this one's hard because they have so many guys that can pot you 20 points. No problem. So I went with a guy who's going to be more of an impact, I think, off the floor. And that sounds dumb when the game is played on the floor. But Andre Iguodala and his arms, he's going to play a lot of defense with those arms on LeBron. You know, he's crafty and handsy. But as far as off the floor, not one of their starters has been in an NBA Finals before. So I think they're going to rely on Iggy a little bit just for that boost because he's been there so many times against LeBron James. And beating LeBron is mental. I think that's a huge, huge part of it, just having that confidence. And obviously they've got guys who've won championships, not in their starting 5, but yeah, up there with the mask on and Pat Riley. And so I think a lot of it is part of that culture, and Iguodala was brought in for this purpose to sort of introduce that winning idea and culture, even though they've got guys who've got a ton of playoff experience and Jimmy and Goran Dragic and others. Iguodala is just going to be more of a, hey guys, I beat this guy. I beat this guy, just to give him a little bit of that mental edge, because LeBron comes in with that edge himself. So that's what Iguodala is going to be doing, and then he'll be flailing his arms at LeBron, trying to distract him and trying to get a swat here or there and trying not to get a foul call. So Iggy's my guy.
All right. Who you got, Lee?
I'm actually going with Jay Crowder because he has been very, very good for the Heat in the playoffs. Certainly in the first 2 rounds where he was knocking down those threes, shooting 40% on nearly 4 a game, but he really cooled off against the Boston Celtics to the point where he was only shooting 25%, and the shots just didn't look the same. But he is so important, not just on the offensive end, but on the defensive end as well. I think he probably starts on LeBron myself because he's a big guy, he's a stronger guy. Look, no one can stop LeBron, and I think that if you're the Heat, you probably want to bring Iggy off the bench. That's my guess. I don't think they want to start Iggy.
Yeah,
I think Crowder probably starts on him. So he's got to do a good job on him. He's got to make LeBron work. He's got to get into his face. He's got to be physical with him. He's got to stay in front of him. All these sort of cliche things that we talk about. But this is Crowder's, I think, primary responsibility for the Heat out there. And then on the offensive end, if LeBron picks him up, go to the corner and you hit those threes, man. You've got to sort of try to punish LeBron if you can at that end. I think that's such an important factor because we know Dragic has got to be big for them. Obviously, Jimmy and Bam. But Crowder has a huge role to play in this series. And if he's good and if he's hitting threes and playing good defense, then that's huge for Miami. But if he's not, if he's missing those threes, if he gets in foul trouble, or if he's just not doing a good job on LeBron, then it's like he becomes a passenger on that team. So we've seen him be very, very good at times, particularly down in the bubble. We've also seen at times it sort of regress to the mean a little bit, particularly with that three-point shooting. But I think the Heat trust him. And I think the Heat realize that it's like, this is the guy who can, we saw him hit 6 threes at one time against the Bucks, excuse me. So, he's capable of big nights, of big important minutes out there. And now he has to absolutely produce for the Heat.
I like that both teams basically have the same guy. The Lakers have Danny Green and the Heat have Jay Crowder. And it's like those guys could catch fire 5 or 6, no problem threes, or they could have a long, long night and look like they're a little washed at times out there. But that's a good one. Great X factor. Trey, what do you got? Who do you got? What do you got?
Maybe it'll be Solomon Hill. We've said it was the Jay Crowder trade for a while, then it turned back to the Andre Iguodala trade during the last series, and maybe it'll be the Solomon Hill series. That's quite the X factor. Solomon Hill comes in, lights it up like he's playing against the Raptors in 2016. Oh, get it off in time, buddy. Anyways, for me, the X factor is the zone. The zone basically won the Heat the series against the Boston Celtics. They looked like they had never seen a zone before, despite seeing it several times against the Raptors. The Lakers will now have had a few days to prepare for it. Not to mention, the zone has kind of been the story of the bubble for the Heat. So it's not going to be a surprise. And they've done very well against it. Like we said, they've got 3 great minds for slicing up the zone. That being said, you would still think it's going to be an effective strategy just because the Lakers' 3-point shooting can come and go, and they score a ton of baskets inside. If you want to gum up the paint, put as many guys around the paint as you can. It certainly worked against the Celtics. The Lakers are going to be ready for it. They're going to be prepared for it, and they've got the guys to beat it. But Miami's still going to want it to be successful. And to even get into a zone, they've got to be getting back on defense, right? They got to take away the transition attack of the Lakers. LeBron wants to push the pace. Rondo wants to push the pace. Anthony Davis is obviously a terror in transition as well. So to set up a zone, you gotta score, then you got to get back on defense before the other team, and then you got to set up, and then you got to guard all the guys. Could it work? It could work. You would think more teams would try zoning up on the Lakers, but they've got some great basketball IQs there, so they may be able to slice it up. Miami's still going to try it, though.
Oh, I'm so excited to see LeBron specifically try and beat a zone, like a really good-looking zone, too, as we've talked about with Jimmy or Crowder or Iguodala at the front. That's what makes this zone incredible. It's those 2 guys at the front that are big, strong, or even when they get beat, are then coming back from behind and obviously putting pressure on. So, yeah, I'm so excited to see what Vogel and LeBron and the Lakers, what their strategy is to try and unlock this and get good looks. I will go. I struggle with this one because you sort of were saying there, Tass. It feels like you can pick a lot of guys. I mean, there's we talked about all these guys that can catch fire from 3, so you can pick one of them. I guess I'll just go Tyler Hero, only because when you think about it, he played against the Lakers in the regular season 10 months ago, games in November and December, and he was obviously a rookie and he did nothing. I think he shot 5 of 20 in the 2 regular season games combined. So it's why would that be a surprise? Again, he's a rook that a lot of people hadn't even heard of at that time, but that was a long time ago. This guy's matured a lot. He's grown a couple whiskers in there even. So, Hero could be huge. And I don't think he's going to be afraid of the moment. We've seen him in the conference finals go for 37. I think he could be due for one of those again here in the finals, and everybody's going crazy. Yahoo Sports had him on the poster for this game, for crying out loud. It was LeBron and AD versus Jimmy and Tyler Hero. Man, the disrespect to Bam there, but he's special, and he could obviously change a game. He could even just change a half and a quarter with that guy when he catches fire. And it's not just 3-point shooter. He's got some handle. He's not afraid to go inside. He's got a little playmaking. He needs to be a part of that gang rebounding, as we talked about, especially when they're in the zone and they're playing a couple bigs against the Lakers. So I'll go Tyler Hero, but you could talk me into literally any of the guys. I outside of the stars, give me Dragic, give me the, you guys said, Iguodala, Crowder. I think Derrick Jones Jr. might get dusted off and thrown out there in this series. Again, for zone reasons, he's lengthy. He's played LeBron before too, just being super, super athletic. So we will see. Let's move over to the Lakers though. X Factor. Lee, why don't you get started on this one? Who you got?
Well, you guys kind of talked about it a little bit there with Dwight Howard, and I think he was very good in the last 2 games for the Lakers, coming into that starting lineup, just basically throwing his body on the offensive end and then defensively getting in Nikola Jokic's face. And I think if you're Frank Vogel, why wouldn't you start him in this series and have him do the same sort of job against Bam Adebayo, just get in his face? He's a big, strong, athletic guy that's going to make it tough. He's got 6 fouls out there he can use. I don't really see JaVale McGee getting going back into the starting lineup, considering what we saw from Dwight. He played good minutes. He kept his behavior and his composure mostly. I mean, he's always walking that fine line, but I think Dwight has earned at least that opportunity to start. And if you're Bam and you see Dwight, you're like, oh, this is going to be a bit of a tough start because he's going to be in your face. He's going to be getting under your skin and bumping you around. But if you see JaVale, you think, okay, well, I can probably get a few baskets here. So Dwight, if he can sort of keep the car in the lane and keep himself on the right track here, then he certainly shapes up to be a very, very important player here for the Lakers because, as we've seen, if he can get Bam in foul trouble and get him off the court, that's a huge advantage to the Lakers. And if he can just contest those shots, keep them off the boards, it's just going to make Bam have to work so much harder. And then on the defensive end for Bam as well, Dwight's going to be in there trying to get those offensive rebounds going up for hoops, trying to be a factor for the Lakers. So, Dwight, he's, this time, well, not a year ago, but over a year ago when it was like, man, is he going to go back to the Lakers? Like, what can he do? Can he keep him behave himself? Well, he's shown that he actually did adapt to that role as a role player coming off the bench, and he played it very well for most of the season. And now he's so close to a championship, he wants to be able to continue to do that and show that to his team. So I think he has potentially a very big role to play in this series.
Okay, I like it.
Who's he going to be trash talking, Lee? That's the real question. There's nobody out there that has a comic book nickname, unfortunately.
Right. Maybe he hates. He might hate Michelob Ultra or something like that. Or like coffee. Maybe he doesn't drink coffee for all we know.
Yeah, it could be something like that. It'll be interesting to see Dwight just out there. John Schumann's got the stat. He's been the foulest guy in the entire bubble. Jimmy's going to have some pump fakes ready for him. Let's just say that. Dwight's going to be throwing his body around. We'll see if he sticks around.
All right. Who do you got, Tass? Lakers X Factor.
Well, I never would have thought I'd pick this man, but Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. He has been the most consistent player behind LeBron and AD recently. He's had an up and down existence in the NBA. He was a Detroit Piston for a long time. People got very high on his potential. Then he went to the Lakers. Then people got very low on him, that he was overpaid. And now he's come back to the right evaluation, I believe. He's just solid out there. We all were pondering throughout the season, is Danny Green ever going to be on the bench for this team? Is he ever going to sit? Because they just don't have a lot of consistent guys. Well, Green went to the bench because he wasn't hot. I thought Kyle Kuzma would be a consistent number 3 guy after watching him early in the bubble. Well, he went to the bench because he wasn't that hot. But Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, a great three-point shooter in this last series, playing 30 minutes a game. And I think he is the most likely to hit a big 3 out of all those role players. And he's most likely to play the most solid defense against a Heat team that's got a billion guards that can score 20 points. I think they're going to rely on him a ton. And so I think he'll be out there. The question is, will KCP be able to continue to be clutch CP? I'm not 100% positive on that, but he's got the potential. He did some great things in the Western Conference Final, catching balls at his ankles from Rondo and throwing up chucks that went down. He had a great percentage, played solid D. So I think KCP is another one of the guys that LeBron has brought over. As LeBron said, I brought Anthony Davis over. Rondo said LeBron brought me over, and now KCP definitely brought over from LeBron. LeBron definitely got that contract from Clutch Sports. Kudos to LeBron for that. But now he's paying off because he's literally more consistent than Danny Green right now, or Kyle Kuzma, or Rondo, or even Alex Caruso. So I'll go with KCP.
Yeah, and he'll probably be matched up on Dragic, I'd assume, for a good chunk of this. And you're right, Tass. He's a wicked catch and shoot three-point shooter as well, which is against the zone. I mean, you're going to have those looks and be able to step into them, and just off the pass. Again, when you got LeBron as your teammate in Rondo. So, yeah, he's huge. That's a good one for the Lakers. Who do you got, Trey?
Well, first of all, I want to give some kudos to Ragin' Brownie in the YouTube chat who commented, Dwight's going to be like, you want to be the hero? I'm the villain. It was sitting right there.
Right.
Got in just before John Schumann did with the exact same joke, unfortunately for him. And hey, Bam is a superhero comic book sound effect. So Dwight, he could be the X Factor. I'm not thinking he is the X Factor. It's like the Unbreakable universe for those M. Night Shyamalan fans out there, where everything is somehow a comic book. I guess Dwight Howard has cracked the code. But for me, the X Factor is going to be Rondo. He was great in the Western Conference Finals, and he's instrumental to the Lakers pushing the pace. They're such a good transition team, and Rondo is one of the factors for that because he can get LeBron some easy baskets, and he also gets easy three-point looks for KCP, Danny Green, Caruso, all the guys he plays alongside of that you don't necessarily want handling the ball, but are okay if they're hitting the shots. We'll see how he does against the zone. He can make a three-point shot. He still doesn't necessarily want to shoot them, but he's got a great basketball IQ to carve things up with his passing as well. But perhaps the zone throws him off. That being said, he's been in the NBA for 100 years. He's probably seen a lot of zones and figures out how to attack them. But Rondo was an X factor against the Nuggets, and I assume he'll be the same against the Heat.
Okay, I'm going to go with, I can't believe I'm going to say this. I'll preface this by saying I do not think he's all that good, and I think he's terribly overrated, and I'm talking about Kyle Kuzma. Will he be a Kyle, though, or a Carl? That's what it comes down to. But because I will say this, Kuzma's game, in theory, could be a really good counter to his own defense. He will move off the ball, and there's seams in the defense of his own defense for some cuts, some timely cuts. So you can find some space, and then, as I talked about, the short corner is there. There are open threes in the corner, usually against the zone defense, and really against the Heat zone defense because it is a hero placed in the corner there, or a Dragic or a Duncan Robinson. Like, you're going to get looks. And again, when LeBron's the quarterback, he's going to throw it to you right on the money there. So Kuzma's got to hit shots, and he's overrated because he's a Laker. I mean, if Kyle Kuzma played for the Hornets and scored 18 points per game, like, no one would give a damn. No one would care at all. But it's because he's in LA. He's got a cool look. He's got a social media presence. People think, a lot of Lakers fans think he's better than he maybe is. And he's struggled. He has not played all that well here. But I think he could have a little, unlocking here against the zone defense. Because in theory, what he does could work well against the zone defense. But he's got to hit shots is what it's going to come down to. And maybe he does for a game or two. And then people will be saying Kyle Kuzma for finals MVP. I can see it now if he has one or two good games. I can see it now. All right, so let's start wrapping this up here with some predictions. Before we get to our actual, who wins this thing, how many games predictions, I thought we could do some, silly or random or specific predictions. JD, I want to get you in on the mix as well, but who wants to get us started with this? Who has a really strong, silly or random prediction they want to throw out for this finals?
I've got one.
Okay.
I think we're going to see someone hit 10 threes in a game. Maybe Tyler Hero, maybe Duncan Robinson.
10? Wait, Curry has the record. Right?
What?
9, I think he hit in a finals game. Yeah.
It's down to the bubble. Everyone's shooting him so well. Danny Green. Maybe Danny Green just has it in one game. That's all he hits for the entire series, but he hits 10 in one game.
Oh, wow.
I do think we're going to see some crazy stuff down there. So, you wanted a crazy prediction?
Yeah.
There's one for you.
The only reason I push back is I have in my notes somebody hits 8 threes. I got really specifically. I can't go someone tying or beating Curry with that.
Didn't you want crazy? Is it gonna
No,
happen?
I didn't ask for crazy. I said silly, random, or very specific.
Okay.
Not crazy.
Silly and specific.
Yeah. Okay. So somebody hits 10 threes. And if you had to pick who, you're saying what? Danny Green?
I'm saying Tyler. I'm going with Tyler.
Okay, Tyler Hero.
Oh, 10-time Tyler.
10-time Tyler. Okay, Trey, what do you got for a weird prediction?
6 wedgies. We're gonna get a wedgie per game.
Wow, I forgot
Perfect
about wedgies.
50. It's been a long time since we've seen a wedgie. To be honest, my actual stupid, silly prediction is that LeBron is going to come out with his own fake business to rival Big Face Coffee because Jimmy Butler has been the social media star of the bubble with Big Face Coffee. He's somehow turning it into a real brand. He's got the Lululemon stuff going on. Now there's Little Face Coffee as well. LeBron can't like that, so he's going to have something during the finals that reminds us that LeBron likes to build camaraderie with his teammates. He likes having fun too. I don't know what it's going to be. Maybe King's croissants, something like that. I don't know if he knows all the folding necessary for the lamination of a croissant, but it sounds good.
And as I've talked about before, a croissant should cost $20.
Yeah, very
It
delicate.
takes so long, the amount of work that goes into it. It's an unbelievable value what we pay for croissants. They've got it all wrong. It should be 10 times more. Okay, what do you got, Tass? What's your prediction here? Weird prediction.
Well, the Heat's Derek Jones Jr. is going to play.
Okay.
There's going to be somebody gets in foul trouble, and Derek Jones Jr. is going to get to the top of the zone. He's going to use those long arms, and the former slam dunk champion is going to get a deflection. He's going to turn it the other way. He's going to have a huge jam, and then the nickname Derek Zones is going to take off. It's going to
Derek
roll.
Zones Jr.
Yeah, that's. I think that's a John Hollinger. All this John Schumann love. Enough of that. Let's get some John Hollinger love. I think that's a John Hollinger original. And maybe Dwight Howard will talk trash to Derek Zones, because I'm pretty sure that Dwight Howard watched Game of Zones, the Bleacher Report animated series.
Right.
So he'll start calling him Derek. What are you going to do, Derek Zones? I'll take care of you, Derek Zones. There could be the superhero line. I'm sure Dwight misses Game of Zones and was probably pissed that he never featured in it. I'm guessing he never featured it.
Oh,
I don't know.
I would be shocked. I feel like everybody made a cameo in Game of Zones. The thing went on for like 5 seasons, didn't it? Maybe I'm wrong. Howard Beck was there for crying out loud.
Dwight was a Charlotte Hornet and an Atlanta Hawk 5 years ago, so I don't know.
True, but he likes to fart. And,
maybe his butt. Maybe his animated butt was it.
Yeah, maybe. All right, JD, what's your weird prediction for the finals?
My weird prediction is you may remember back during Rockets Thunder, we saw a bunch of tweets running around or circling around with a butt in the virtual screen.
Oh, yes.
I don't think it actually made the broadcast. But I predict that we will be seeing a butt or something mildly inappropriate that's actually going to make the broadcast. And this is why. There's no consequences anymore, right? I mean, what are they going to do, right? Sure. You're going to get banned for life from the virtual screen. I mean, who cares? And also, I would encourage people to moon their cameras, because we need to burn that bridge. Let's just get rid of it. I think that the bubble. I think we all will agree that the bubble has been an amazing success. I mean, think back to when they first introduced this idea. We were like not even sure that we were going to make it to the finals, right? And here we are. Everything has been awesome except for the virtual fans. I hate it. So let's see some butts on that screen.
All right. See some virtual asses.
Why not? Right? Why not?
Why not? You're right.
Make the director work. Make them. You got to make sure that they're paying attention. Right.
Right. Lee, I mean, did you think about showing your ass when you made a virtual appearance the other, I guess, last series?
No, but I may be in for one of the finals games as well, so maybe I'll reconsider. Tony, why don't you come on over and maybe you can show your butt? No,
why don't you show Hey, Lee, why don't you show your fun dick on the virtual?
No? You know what would be great is if somebody was receiving a wedgie. So we saw like a butt with a wedgie.
Yeah, okay.
And I say we count that. If that happens,
Okay, that's a great prediction. I only have like 2 little quickies here, and I think Lee, you started this whole thing because I saw that people running with this the last couple of days. This idea that Dion Waiters, he can't lose. He can't lose. He's guaranteed a championship ring, regardless of the finals outcome, because he was on the Heat, now he's on the Lakers, and he's going to get a ring. That's not true, though. That is not true at all, because if the Heat were to win this thing and pull this off, it's up to the team to decide whether or not they want to give the guy a ring. There's no freaking way that the Heat, I think, would give Dion Waiters a ring after how he left that team unceremoniously. So, like, the Raptors didn't give Valanciunas a ring. So I just want to push back on that. I think if the Heat win, Waiters doesn't get one.
It's up to each franchise to decide how they do it, because Andy Varejao apparently rejected one from the Warriors.
I don't think Waiters would reject one. I think I'll take that, but I just don't think they would offer him one.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the Heat have done in the past, but I'm sure at some point they've traded away a guy. They've gone on to win the championship. And I think they probably, I think they probably did offer the player a ring. So That's what I think. I don't know if that's true or not, but
so you think if the Heat win a title, they will offer Dion Waiters a ring?
Well, no, I'm just saying in the past, I think they've done it this year. Different circumstances.
I'm talking about the particular player here.
Yeah.
I think that's the important part.
Yeah,
Okay, anyway.
Yeah, well, there's that story about Stan Van Gundy when he was relieved of his duties before the 2006 finals, and Pat Riley coached them to a championship. They offered him a ring afterwards, and he said, "Nah, thanks.
Right? Okay.
Don't want that. You can keep that."
Hey, they're all about Heat culture. Maybe if you're there and you're a part of that squad, I guess maybe they will offer him one. But
they retired Michael Jordan's number.
That's true.
MJ's getting a ring this year.
Number 7 is gonna be really tough for LeBron. LeBron not only has to win 4 here, he's got to prevent Michael Jordan from winning his 7th. Jesus. No, my weird prediction. I don't know how it's going to come about. Obviously, I don't know which team yet. Is it going to be a Lakers player or a Heat player? But there's going to be some joke, guys, at the end of this thing when the confetti falls and they're handing over the LOB. Like some joke about, are you going to Disney World? And it's like, hell no, that's the last place I want to go. Or something like, I'm sure as hell not going to Disney World. Get me the hell away from Disney World. There'll be some joke of like the classic cliche of winning a title. And like, hey, what are you doing now? We're going to Disney World. That's the last place these guys want to go, I assume, after winning this thing. They want to get out of there. So there'll be some sort of little joke made probably on Mike with, whoever it is. Who would be doing it? Who'd be other? Rachel Nichols or something like that. That's my weird prediction. But let's get to the real predictions here. JD, you get us started. NBA Finals pick and prediction. Who do you like? How many games?
Well, is this our 15th year, the 15th season, I think, that we've been covering
15th finals that we'll have made predictions for?
Yeah.
That sounds right. Yeah.
Finals, yeah.
So this is the first time that I'm not rooting for a sweep, right? I mean, every year I didn't care. I just wanted it done. Right. This year, it's a pretty light lift. I roll out of bed and here I am doing a show. So, hey, let's go 7. I want this bubble because, again, it was such a huge success, I think. And let's make it exciting and let's have it go to 7. So, so I'm going to pick the Heat in 7, just simply because, I shouldn't like disrespect LeBron like this, but I'm rooting for the guys on the Heat. I think they're a more likable team. So that's who I want to root for. If I pick the Lakers, which is probably the smarter pick, I'm going to have to be rooting against the Heat, and I don't want to do that. I want to root for the for the Heat. So Heat in 7. Okay, way to get us started here. Tass, why don't you go next? What do you got?
I love it, JD. I'm totally with you. I think this will be a nice, long series, and it's just that unprecedented factor of guys being able to put just the play to their potential, have a 20, have a 25, have a 30-point game off the bench like a Tyler Hero. I think this is the year where you could see an upset. So why the heck not pick this Miami Heat team where role players don't feel the pressure of an opposing fan base. The Heat are desperately going to need their depth up and down that roster. They got to get game 1, and I believe they can. And there's a heck of a lot on Bam Adebayo's shoulders. But I'm going with the Heat culture. I'm going with enough experience besides their starting 5 that has 0. And I'm going with the vengeful factor of Pat Riley getting his guys and prodding his guys. And I think they'll get it done. Let's go 7. Let's go Heat in 7.
We got 2 Heat in 7s. Let's go to TK shaking his head. So I think he's leaning the other way. What do you got?
This just feels dumb, honestly. I'm caught between my brain and my heart. I'm feeling exactly like JD and Tass. My brain tells me the Lakers are going to win. Yeah. They've got the 2 best players. Superstars are what matters. But in this house, we stan Jimmy. Are you kidding me? Cars don't have rear view mirrors. The reason I'm downstairs recording now is because we put in a giant fish tank upstairs. There's nowhere to sit. I'm going to Heat in 6 just because I want to be rooting for Jimmy Butler. I don't want to pick against him 3 straight series and have him pull it off every single time. This is for 2013. This is for 2015. Let's go, Jimmy!
Oh my goodness. All right. We got 3 guys picking Heat here. The Lakers are heavy favorites, by the way, in Vegas, or a lot bigger than I thought they would be. But we got 2 Heat in 7s. Trey goes Heat in 6. Lee, where are you leaning, man?
Man, I thought I was going to be on an island. I thought
my goodness.
the logic, the brain clearly says go to the Lakers here because it's LeBron. We don't want to see LeBron go 3-7 in the finals. We want to see him win his third championship for a different franchise. But I don't want feel good. I said at the start of the show, I want crazy. Nothing would be crazier than if the Miami Heat pull this off after everything that's gone on with Jimmy Butler and the Heat this season, and now down in the bubble. Surely, it's a lot more fun to at least cheer for the Miami Heat. And I've also realized these predictions don't mean anything anyway. I'm going for the Heat because I want the Heat to win. I feel bad because I want LeBron to get another championship, but not this year. I want the Miami Heat. I'm going with the underdogs. I picked the Heat in every series so far. They won in 4 games. They won in 5 games. They won in 6 games. So it makes logical sense.
Yep.
They're going to win in 7 games here. I've got a man crush on Tyler Hero, which is embarrassing to say because I'm 44 years old. He's 20 years old.
Nearly illegal.
I shouldn't. But it's just so much more fun cheering for the guys you want to win. I'm going for the Heat in 7. Will they win it in 7? Probably not, but who cares? Give me the Heat.
You guys are drunk. Oh, my God. And I love it. I'm here for it. Okay, look, I am taking the Lakers. I will be the lone guy on this podcast to take the Lakers. Yeah, go ahead and boo me. But I am excited. I agree with you guys that it's going to be a long series. I do not think this is by no means going to be a Lakers sweep or even 5. I think it goes 6 or 7. I talked about in the last series when the Lakers played the Nuggets, the Lakers were the big brother to Denver. You could just see it. They were the bullies. They were the one that could push them around. Just things went their way because they were the older brother. The Heat, to me, to keep up this weird analogy, they're like the crazy cousin that shows up every once in a while. They're not going to be bullied because that crazy cousin that lives in Sarnia that you haven't seen in 2 years, and they show up every once in a while, they've seen some things. They've done some things at an early age. They've stolen a car already, took it across the border. They became a carny for a summer. What? You're 13 years old. How are you a carny? They're not afraid, right? They're not going to be bullied. So it's this weird dynamic that I'm super excited about, but there's no way I am going to pick against the team with not only the best player, but then the second best player in Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis, I still think could steal or win a finals MVP in this. Definitely. I think you could see some special numbers. So I think that's in play. I will go Lakers. You know what? I'll go Lakers in 7 because this is going to be an awesome, awesome battle between these two teams. And I'm really excited, as I talked about on our last podcast. I love that it is the Lakers and Heat here, and I love that all these weird storylines as we started this one, all this intertwining. Like we didn't really talk about does Spoelstra know the secret to slowing LeBron or getting in his head? Like who really knows? So yeah, I'll go Lakers in 7. That crazy cousin, man, he's a wild card.
Oh, the Sarnia Carney?
Oh man, the Sarnia Carney, man. I'm telling you, they smoke. They've been smoking for years already. They didn't buying you packs of players there, Lee. So we will see. Okay, so I got Lakers in 7. We got a lot of Heat in 7. We got a Heat in 6. Let's hear from you guys. Tweet at us at NoDunksInc. Break it down. Why are you picking a team and why and how many games, stuff like that. Let us know in the YouTube chats as well. That was a fun one. Hope you enjoyed that. Like I said, we'll talk Doc Rivers and the Clips parting ways tomorrow. We'll get into Victor Oladipo rumors, and we'll answer a bunch of your questions when we hit the beach. So email them in nodunks@theathletic.com or tweet them in at NoDunksInc. Can't wait. Game 1, NBA Finals tips Wednesday, and we'll be back, of course, on Thursday morning to recap what should be a very exciting finals. Clipper Bros.
You heard it here first. Have a great time. Turn up. Love you guys. Awesome.
Thanks for joining us. And remember, Lakers in 3.
Embrace the day, people.